What's going on, everyone? I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pick'em, which is brought to you by Maggie May, Brandy's Hope, Sharon Ammann Road Field, and People's Bank. We're going to do a little recap of last week's picks, starting with our featured game, Madison Central taking on Clinton. And to sum it up for you, we were all wrong. Madison Central ended up coming on top of Clinton 35-20. Guys, what do y'all have to say about that?
It was a pretty even game up until about the third quarter. I think it was tied at one point up until the third quarter, and MC obviously just way more talented than Clinton, and they ran away with it. And right now, they've really shook things up in 6A for me.
That's what we were talking about it.
6A is
6A is crazy right now.
I think it's Horan Lake and Starkville, really. I mean, that's the two.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's Horn Lake, Starkville, and then everybody else is fighting for third. I think you got Northwest Rankin, Clinton, Madison Central, Brandon. They're all.
I think I got all them. Brandon.
But Horn Lake and Starkville are definitely top two.
Right, 6A is a circus. You know, I really thought Clinton was one of the top teams, a really huge contender, but obviously after seeing this game, I don't think that anymore. I think they're just a little bit above average team in 6A, but they don't pose any threat to actually win the entire thing.
Yeah. Moving on to our next game, Simpson Academy taking on East Rankin, and you know, we basically all called it. East Rankin, they weren't a good team, but this Simpson football team is definitely starting to get some momentum going, and they've got a few wins now here, and really got all these players back from injury, and they're definitely starting to make some noise.
They're heating up. The offense is hot.
Yeah.
I mean, Mason and Hooks both threw for 2 touchdowns apiece.
And that's
unheard of.
That's unheard of in the Simpson offense.
And that's what we said. We said they had to start incorporating a pass game.
Right, and they beat ERA convincingly, but once again they should have. ERA was a really bad team. I want to see
a much bigger test this week.
I want to see this new team against some good teams to see just how great they actually are.
This team's heating up at the right time, though, for sure.
Yeah. Moving on to the next game, McGee taking on Lanier. These two guys here decided to take Lanier in this matchup, but McGee definitely won by a big deficit, winning 62-34. What do you have to say about it?
I think somebody said McGee also had almost 200 yards.
Yeah, 195 yards.
Well, the fact that they won that big and, you know, had 195 yards in penalty, that's just ridiculous. Pretty dumb prediction.
This was a big win for McGee. Lanier is not near as good as I thought they were. I thought Lanier might get the upper hand. You know, they have a lot of athletes over there, or so I thought. Turns out that obviously they're not near as talented as McGee, and McGee showed that. McGee gave them every opportunity to win this game, and they didn't take it.
And McGee, just like Simpson, they're getting momentum at just the perfect time.
Moving on to the next game, you have Mendenhall taking on Raleigh, and I said this Raleigh team, they're always a team that can upset you, and we almost saw an upset Friday night when Mendenhall ended up winning the game 52-43, but it was close the entire game.
I want to point out that we're talking about other teams, you know, catching momentum at the right time. This might be the opposite way. Mendenhall is going down in momentum at the wrong time. Mendenhall just almost dropped a game to Raleigh, who they should have blown out of the water. It shouldn't have been close. This shows me a lot about Mendenhall's depth, because sure, they had some injuries, but either way, if Mendenhall is really a contender, they should be able to beat Raleigh with a lot of injuries on their team. It shouldn't be close.
Yeah. I've said a team can have a good loss. Well, this was a bad win. They played, the defense is horrible. It's atrocious right now. They got to do something to fix it quick, or some teams will blow them up real fast.
Now moving on to this week's games and picks, starting with our game of the week, which, by the way, I want to thank everyone who contacted us to try to get their high school featured for the game of the week, and after looking at it, it was no question our game of the week was going to be Jackson Academy taking on Jackson Prep. This has been a long-time rivalry, and this is going to be a fun one because both teams are undefeated. However, I do think that Prep wins this game pretty big, probably about 3 touchdowns.
I mean, I understand it was sent in and it was a good choice, but I don't think it's even a close game, though. I mean, Prep's a whole different animal than Jackson Academy is right now. I mean, honestly, Prep, you could put them in public school, probably 4A, possibly 5A, and I think they'd still do some damage. They'd probably win 4A South, in my opinion, so I don't see Jackson Academy even competing. I got Prep by at least 3 touchdowns.
Prep has outscored their opponents 238-17. They played no one. Jackson Academy and Kinky Dent will go to Jackson Prep on Friday night, and they will win. Mark my words. Ken Dent has a big game, they upset Jackson Prep.
Big key to this game is if Jerrion Ely plays. I know he was out last week with an ankle injury, but if Ely plays, this game's not close, and Jackson Prep wins by 3 scores.
I want to point out that while I do think Ken Dent is a great player and maybe one of the best players that you will see in this game, he's not good enough to stop Prep. Prep is just too great to beat. You know, I don't see anyone stopping them at all, and no one will get close. This game's not close. It'll be 21 points or more.
Now moving on to our next game, you have McGee taking on Velma Jackson. This is the first district game for both of these teams. You know, we were just talking, McGee is definitely getting momentum, but I think unfortunately this Velma Jackson team is going to stop that momentum. Their quarterback, Antavius Willis, will single-handedly beat McGee. He is averaging 223.4 rushing yards a game and 101 passing yards per game. Yes, he will definitely beat this McGee team. They have momentum, but still, their defense, not good.
I think that, like you said, I do think Velma Jackson wins, but also believe that this could be Battle McGee because although he is a good player, their team has 1,300 rushing yards and their quarterback has 1,100 of those. So it kind of seems like he's the only weapon they have, and if McGee can slow him down, I think McGee wins that.
McGee is going to slow him down. They're going to load the box up like they always do. They're going to load it up. They'll have 10 men in the box, more than likely, maybe more. And they're going to slow down his rushing, absolutely. But like Grayson said, he's able to air that ball out. He's going to air this ball out against this terrible secondary against McGee. They're atrocious. And it's not even going to be close. Velma Jackson's going to win by at least 17 points. McGee's got perfect momentum going into this game. They've won 2 games straight by more than – they've won 2 games straight, and they've put up more than 50 points in each game. But this game, it won't matter. Velma Jackson's going to handle them easily.
I've rode with McGee all year. Last week they burned me. I'm going with the Trojans here. I think that, you know, when they put 7 to 8 men in the box, they're going to be able to stop Antavius Willis's running game. And that's really, in my opinion, what he does real well. His passing game is decent, but his running game is real good. And I feel like if they can stop that, they can put up enough points to beat Velma Jackson. So I've got McGee in a close one.
You said that his passing game was decent, but that's all they need to beat McGee. You can have an okay passing game, and you can kill McGee. McGee literally mans up every single receiver. If you have some skeleton of a passing game, then you'll win the game.
Allen didn't even have a lot of passing yards against McGee. All he had to do was throw a few passes against him, and it opened up so much. Once you open them up and expose them, they're gonna freak out and they're gonna lose what they were doing. And it's not going to be close once they open that offense up.
I think Allen only had like 7 or 8 passes during the McGee game. I don't even think it was double-digit passes.
And I had a problem with him that week for not exposing them more. They should have thrown the ball.
He could have threw for 300 yards.
They should have aired the ball out more, and that's what this Velma Jackson team will do, and they'll stomp McGee out.
And you want to talk about slowing them down? Christian what do you have? A couple rushing touchdowns against McGee.
2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, ain't no slow.
Velma Jackson's not the same offense that Mendenhall is.
That quarterback, he looks pretty good if he's rushing for 1,100 yards.
Moving on to the next game, Simpson Academy taking on Columbia Academy. Like we were just saying, this Simpson team definitely has momentum right now. Obviously, the coaches are definitely starting to put together a smarter game plan by airing the ball out some more. This Columbia team, you know, they're a decent team. They beat Park Lane, who, in my opinion, is one of the best teams in their conference. But I still think that this Simpson team, when they're passing the ball well and running the ball well, they're going to be tough to beat. So I've got Simpson winning this game by about 10 to 14 points.
Not even in their conference. I mean, Mississippi Gridiron right now has them top 5 in all of MAIS right now. But I mean, that one game, Park Lane, they could have choked up that one game. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you look at the full resume, Columbia is not as good as Simpson.
Yeah.
I mean, Simpson's dropped 2 games against Park Lane and Oak Forest. But, I mean, they're gaining momentum at the perfect time, and they're not going to win this game by a lot, but they're going to win.
I've been with Simpson Academy since we started this. But I'm here to tell you, when you let a piss-poor PCS the receiving core, expose your secondary. That showed me that Columbia will expose you on Friday night, and you will lose this game by 2 touchdowns.
Well, I've got Simpson winning this game almost in a blowout, and I think that I don't know. I just think that the resume is a lot better for Simpson. I'm a big believer in common opponents, and they do have that in Park Lane. But in this case scenario, with all of Simpson's players that were out, I don't think it makes a difference. I think Simpson wins by 25 or more.
I'm going to go with Simpson in this game. You know, this is a really close game in my point of view. It can go either way. Columbia is 2-4, but they're a lot better than their record suggests. They've been playing some good public schools, and they can pass the ball. And to Ethan's credit, he did point out that Simpson is not very good against the pass. I watched him against PCS. PCS's quarterback couldn't capitalize, but the wide receivers were getting extremely open.
10 to 15 yards open.
While I do think Columbia will have a good game and they might beat Simpson, for some reason I'm just going to have to go with Simpson in this game. You know, they're getting everyone back at the right time. They're actually starting to air the ball out themselves, and I think that might just be too much for Columbia. Caleb Garner will have a good game, and he'll lead them to a win.
If it wasn't for their performance with passing the ball last week, I'd pick Columbia because I think Columbia's going to be able to put some points up on this defense of Simpson's. But I think Simpson now that they can compete with a team that's able to put up a good bit of points. I mean, earlier in the season, they weren't putting up more than 21 points a game.
I'm just not buying the passing. I mean, it was East Rankin. They passed like that against Columbia. I'll buy it.
But the fact that they're trying to pass now, I mean,
I'm in on Simpson's passing game.
Okay, well, here's my thing. Who
The fact that they're throwing the ball is
I mean, the fact that they were able to throw 4 touchdowns, the fact that they tried.
That means they threw the ball 4 times, which is more than they've done all season.
I mean, the fact that they're actually trying to open up an offense now and not be vanilla.
I think the Simpson team can be deadly going down the stretch.
Now moving on to our next game, you have Mendenhall taking on Newton County. This is both teams' first district play. You know, this Mendenhall team hasn't lost a game, and last week we got a really, really, really bad performance from that defense. This defense is not good. This offense, incredible, but this defense might end up being the reason that this team doesn't go very far in the playoffs. You know, this Newton County team has a really good running back and a really good quarterback, and I think that those two are the reason that this Mendenhall team suffers their first loss of the season and starts off 0-1 in district play. And in my opinion, starting off 0-1 in district play to this team is definitely going to hurt in the long run.
Well, unless Newton County is going to put up 48 points a game, which is what this offense is averaging right now, you're going to be wrong. I'm going to go ahead and say everyone.
Raleigh put up 43.
Good point.
Good point. But how much did Mendenhall put up?
52.
A win is a win is a win. Something in my gut really wants me to pick against Mendenhall, but my head's telling me that's not a good pick. Newton County, I mean, of course they're going to put up points on this defense as of right now, but this offense is too deadly. And I'm going to go ahead and say everyone at Mendenhall, in the community, everyone loves Derek Jenkins. I mean, I like the guy. He's got great energy. Like Grayson said before, everybody's definitely buying into what he's got going. But if he doesn't, I mean, he's got positive energy, but if he doesn't get this defense going right, this positive energy, it's going to turn downhill pretty quick. Because you cannot let a team like Riley put up 43 points. It's just not acceptable. And I'll give it to them. They had injuries. But you got to learn to scheme around injuries.
I don't think you can really blame that on the coach. The players were the ones who missed the wide open tackles in the middle. The players were the ones who had 34 missed tackles. The players were the ones who had more than 30 this week. Had 34 against McGee. Had 20 something against Purvis. The players are the one who do that. A coach can only do so much.
Well, he can teach them some wrap-up drills when it's 3 weeks consistently.
Well, here's my philosophy.
Y'all been doing a lot of wrap-up drills? See, he's helping them now.
We've been doing that since the start of the season.
Well, obviously you got to do a little bit more.
We go over a whole day.
A little bit more wrap-up drills.
Alex?
Well, I'm going to say, I for one do believe Mendenhall had a really bad game against Raleigh. I think the players know that. I think the coaches know that. I think they're going to fix that against Newton County. I want to say their defense was not good. I think Derek Jenkins is a great coach, but I don't think just one bad game decides everything for them. This defense has consistently, say anything about the missed tackles, this defense has consistently held teams to low points until this. This was their first really bad game in my opinion, so you can't hold it against them. I think Mendenhall did have an overall bad game, but they bounced back and killed Newton County in this one. I just wanted to say something about Mendenhall's offense. They're second in the state in touchdowns with 36 touchdowns. They're 57th nationally, and that's with only 5 games played to most teams 6. If you can be second in the state and 57th in the nation with playing 1 game less than other teams, that goes to show that Mendenhall has a great offense and will have whatever it takes to beat Newton County. They can just keep on running. Mendenhall's defense don't have to be good in this game. They can just be
mediocre.
I'll go with what you said.
Mediocre.
Offense wins games, but defense wins championships.
I will say Mendenhall had an ugly performance Friday night. I think they bounced back. I will like adding on with Alex as far as the scoring wise. Christian Allen averaging 130 passing yards a game, 11-0 touchdown interception ratio. The team averages 332 rushing yards a game. It's just a very violent offense. We're gonna ask Steve.
I want to go ahead and say, I wasn't knacking on Derek. He's done good. It's just they've got to do better than what they did last week. And I'll give it to the players. They don't get a big head. They know what they've done wrong.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
All right, Steven, I'm going to ask you a question since you play on the team. First of all, I know Mendenhall knows, the coaches, the players, you guys know that y'all had a bad game against Raleigh, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, does that change the outlook or the energy in the locker room at practice, knowing that y'all just not dropped a game, but played?
I think the energy was definitely a lot higher this week. I think we had a better week of practice, knowing that we definitely got to step up and play a lot better if we want to go win the district, go back to back. The district's tough, and if we play like we did the other night, we're not going to have a good year.
And also, this is the starter district. Is that adding any more?
I wouldn't say that adds any pressure. It's just another game for us.
I want to say something. Say Mendenhall goes out there, offense does great, and defense once again atrocious, and they lose this game. What do you see this Mendenhall team doing the rest of the year?
We haven't had much adversity this year, but I think this team definitely can handle it. I think we're going to be getting some key pieces back in the next couple of weeks, and I think that this team bounces back, but, that's just iffy question.
I'm going to stop you there, Steve. Once again, man, what do you have on this defense? Like Alex said, up until this week was their first bad performance. Yeah, they missed tackles happen, but they've held opponents.
All I said, I wasn't knacking on the defense right there. I said they once again, which is a multiple time. They had a bad defense last week.
Multiple times.
If they have a bad defense this week, that's multiple times.
You said multiple times, meaning that it happened more than once of last week.
I'm saying if it happens this week, it will become a multiple occasion.
Things happen. I think that we took Raleigh a little bit light, and I think that we weren't, prepared for the game, and we came out and played bad. But I would not expect to see that on the field anytime soon.
I was giving him a hypothetical. If this defense came out like they did last week, and they mess around and accidentally drop this game, what did he see this team? How do they see this team bouncing back?
Do you think that the players, I guess, had a big head last week going into Raleigh?
No, I wouldn't say they had a big head at all. I just think that we kind of overlooked them a little bit. That's not. It happens all the time, but we still came out with a win, and a win is a win is a win.
I want to say like Stephen said. They haven't had much adversity yet. They haven't just seen anybody be able to put up points. I wouldn't say they got a big head, but I think they definitely overlooked them, and I don't think the way that happened, I don't think it's going to happen again. It's going to show either this game is going to show whether they overlooked Raleigh or whether the defense is just bad.
I do have one final question, Stephen. After this, I guess you say, tough game with Raleigh, do you think that anything changes as far as your tough opponents up until West Lauderdale? Do you think there's anyone who y'all have to worry about?
No, I don't. I think it's all the same. I just think once again we just had a bad week, didn't play well. I mean, that happens in football. Alabama doesn't go out and beat every team by 50, even though they're the best team, you know. I mean, people have bad weeks, and I just think that's part of football, and we're going to have to see if we can rebound from it this week.
That's true.
Good answer.
In your personal opinion, do you think y'all should change y'all's defensive formation up as of
No,
now?
I like our defensive formation at the point, right now.
Now going back over this week's picks, starting with our game of the week, I've got Prep beating Jackson Academy by about 3 touchdowns.
Prep, they're just a whole different monster. It's not going to be close.
Jackson Academy. Then we
Prep big.
Kincaid Dent tries but fails. Prep wins by a lot.
Moving on to McGee taking on Velma Jackson. Once again, this is for both teams their first district game. I think Antavius Willis, the Velma Jackson quarterback, single-handedly beats this McGee football team. So,
The only way Velma Jackson loses this game is if they beat themselves.
I had Velma Jackson at first, but then I started thinking about it. No, I'm just playing. Velma Jackson beats McGee bad.
How many rushing yards does Willis average a game? Almost 250?
223.
He has half that this week. McGee wins.
McGee gets destroyed by Velma Jackson and their passing game.
Moving on to Simpson Academy taking on Columbia Academy. I think that this Simpson team is getting hot at the right time. They're starting to incorporate the passing game, and I think that's why Simpson beats Columbia pretty big.
I wouldn't say big, but it's going to be a good game to watch. You know, I'm going to be at this game Friday. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I think Simpson's going to be able to pull it out against Columbia, but it's going to be a gut check game for the rest of the season, all the way up to Lamar for Simpson.
I will rival Simpson Academy till we end pick 'em. If you can beat Columbia Friday night, until you show me that you can pass on someone besides East Rankin, I'm sorry, I just can't.
So you think if they beat Columbia, they beat Lamar?
Oh, that's two different teams.
Yeah, I do.
All right. So you have
Columbia?
Yes.
All right.
Simpson wins big this week and next week too, but it's over once Lamar comes down.
I wouldn't say it's over.
Go ahead.
This game is a toss-up. I think, once again, it depends on how good Simpson can stop Columbia's pass. But in the end, I think Simpson edges it out over a good Columbia team.
Moving on to our last game, you have Mendenhall taking on Newton County. This is both teams' first district game of the year, and I think that this is also Mendenhall's first loss of the year. I think that this Newton County offense comes out and punches that defense in the mouth.
I think Coach Jenkins definitely realizes where the team went wrong last week. He likes a little bit of more fire up under him. He's going to correct his problems, and Chucky, he ain't really got to worry much about that offense. They're going to do what they do, and I think Mendenhall wins it pretty easily.
I think Mendenhall wins big, but what I think Mendenhall won't do a lot this week that they did in the last few weeks is run the ball. I think Christian Allen has a big game through the air.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think Mendenhall wins this big. I think they pick up where they left off the week before this week. They're going to just erase this from their memories and get back to being that insanely good Mendenhall team that we all know.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for all of us here at Pick'em. I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to also thank our sponsors, which is Maggie Maid, People's Bank, Brandy's Hope, and Sharon Amon Rodan and Fields. Once again, we want to thank everyone who sent in their high schools to GroupCast Sports to be featured as the game of the week. If you would like your high school to be featured, all you have to do is contact us. You can contact us via Facebook Messenger. You can go to our website, which is www.groupcastsports.com. Just click contact and you'll find all of our contact information. We have Tiger Talk, Cougar Chat, Trojan Talk. If you would like your high school to have its own interview style after post-game interviews, just be sure to contact us. We're always looking to expand. And Randy, do you have anything about the mic situation?
Right now we're currently working on them. We've tried for our second time on getting microphones, and for the second time, Best Buy has not exactly sent us the correct thing. I promise you we're working on it. We're always trying to improve our quality. I mean, I know sometimes you struggle to hear the players, especially, but we're working on it. We're going to get there.
And we're also working on some different segments. So
yeah, we got a lot more things coming to GroupCast Sports. But like I said, I want to thank you all for watching, and be sure to tune in next week.